For those of you who did, thank you for playing our game.
Yeah, no problem.
How does our game apply to this theme? Important question. Kind of like the whole reason to the jam. The lifesteal mechanic. In the game, once you enact a certain amount of damage, you can press L, and it will let you attack an enemy and gain health from them. Removing the ability to heal with a potion or a food pickup allowed for a uniquely challenging game loop, where when you're already at the risk of dying, you can engage in more violence to activate the ability. That is the only way you can heal. You could say it has ludonarrative synchronicity for the state of mind of the player, and also the fact that they're a vampire. You could say that, allegedly. Programming. Programmer for this game, Jalen, otherwise known as Slurp, they're not here, but they put in a lot of work for doing this, so I'm just going to present this in their absence. State machines. I'm sure some of you guys know what those are. One of the game philosophies that I wanted to impart on it is every single enemy teaches you a small thing about how to deal with the final boss. Like the way the demon enemy runs up to you and does an attack with a wider range, or how sometimes leaving the range of an enemy can put you in danger. Every single piece of every enemy was kind of almost like mashed together and implemented into the final boss. The final boss is almost like a final test of everything you learned while playing the game. Because of modular states. Hitboxes and hurt boxes. There's a very dynamic way that enemies approach you and you take damage. Everything is very, very intricately done. I'm not a programmer, but I'm sure anyone can understand. I'm sure a lot of people can understand this. Cursive empathy is the scenes that display dialogue that overlap the gameplay on animated cutscenes. This also features changing sprites that resemble the current emotion of this feature. The dialogue is synced with the audio. That was a journey, let me tell you, but we got it done. Other cool dev things: sound boss, event bus, and enemy base nodes. I'm sure all this is very interesting. This product is MIT licensed.
Well, it's interesting for the technical design.
Exactly.
Judges, so.
Yeah. Creative direction. Was it overly ambitious to fully draw and animate the game by myself? Yes. But I did it! Woo! Yeah. All in all, if we're including cut content, 194 frames were drawn for the game.
Wow.
Cursive
Wow.
is my first fully animated project. I did a large amount of research this semester about the principles of animation in preparation for the GameJam, and I really hope it shows. The first line I wrote for Cursive Empathy was a proof of concept to give to a voice actor so she could read for the character. I made the line in 30 seconds while I was in one of Stockton's conference rooms. Hannah, do you mind doing the honors?
A
Yeah.
legion of knights from the Crimson Order couldn't stop me. What makes you think you are any better than them? You're not a born vampire. You are nothing but an over-eager thrall.
Hannah, everybody.
Woo!
Not everything has time to be put in the game. There was a ranged attack that was going to be displayed while walking. This is actually the first animated sprite I made for the character, and it didn't get put in. That's just going to tell you how crazy game development can be sometimes. This is Morgan, the wolf dog that survived the attack on Ray's Mountain, refuses to leave her master's side, even if he isn't human anymore. We don't ever see her in the game. Here's a character lineup. There was going to be an assassin character who fought with 2 wooden stakes in the place of daggers. It was going to have a lot of fast and jumping attacks, which was going to inform on some Sanguina's jumping attacks. Obviously, we have the soldier, the mage, and the demon. Demon's design was simplified. The claws were kind of turned into semicircles. They were stylized. The animation process would be made easier. This is the first drawing I ever did of Sanguina. You see how the cape of her armor, it has those jagged edges that almost form on a vampire cape, but without having to actually fully animate a cape. And we had a concept for when you activated the Curse of Empathy, or the Lifesteal ability, like a fire would appear behind you. There was going to be text in the game that said your blood burns in your veins to let you know the ability was ready, but we didn't have time to implement it. Exporting videos to Godot does funny things to the quality, resolution, and frame rate. Here are all the cutscenes in their original fidelities. Hi judges, this is for you. Stay on this one for a little while. If anyone wants to, this is actually also linked to my YouTube channel, so why not subscribe to me? Has everyone got it? Alright. Sound of music!
Yeah, I guess this is my part. So, in terms of okay, yeah. So the soundtrack, it was completed in 2 days on my end. We've had like 2 composers, one of them being myself for this, right? And I feel like in terms of efficiency, reusing ideas is king. It's very similar to animation in a sense, where like if you're able to reuse something, and in this case it sounds good, then you might as well, right? This was also my first time using custom singing parts, so the final boss theme in the game has like pretty cool vocal performances. You know, Hannah is one of the singers, which is pretty awesome, and also your friend Ro as well. Yeah. So you had 2 people in terms of the vocal performance side of things. I wanted to make the process as easy as possible because, you know, I respect VAs a lot since that's a field that I'm not as familiar with. And also, I just think that streamlining the process is the best thing that you could possibly do for the sake of efficiency, right? Despite everything that I'm saying, I don't know much music theory. I literally just place notes until I think they sound good. But I think that there are like a few fundamental like sort of things that I stick to make my song sound the way that they do. So in terms of incorporating the vocals, basically what I did was I sent a draft of the song when it was done alongside isolated instrument parts. And basically the idea was to have Hannah and Ro sing over those instrument parts, and therefore it would help with like timing and stuff, and syncing up the samples wasn't that bad. Unfortunately though, it was very difficult for me to actually get like the vocal parts sort of properly equalized in the song, because that's just always going to be very hard. Equalization in music is a concept where basically you're just manipulating the waveforms of like a sample or a specific sound so that it can fit properly in the mix. And it's very notorious for being annoying, especially if you have a lot of moving parts in your song. And since I had a lot of realistic instruments that I was working with, you know, it took me some time, but I'm pretty proud of how it turned out. I don't know if we're going to be able to show the song at some point, but yeah.
Hi, I also did all the SFX design. Every sound, I was scouring through Pixlr, every voice line I edited together. It was a lot of work, but that's not important. Thank you to the voice actors. This product would not have been what it was without them. Remember the wolf dog from the content? Suppose that Morgan was in the game. Maybe they found a dead goblin and followed their master's scent. Suppose vampires turn to stone in the sun. Thank you.